Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Ian Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On episode 180, I'm sick, but the show must go on. That is right. It's probably going to be an episode where I do less talking and Ewan does more talking. Wait, that's just a normal episode. Yeah. Bazinga, we both have the same joke, but it is Monkey Week. That's right. We are doing I'm doing a back-to-back Monkey Marathon. You'll see what I mean in a minute.
Well, he watched Free Body Problem, which is not the monkeys he's talking about, but he also watched Love Lies Bleeding, nothing to do with monkeys, but he rewatched all of the Planet of the Apes films, the trilogy. Then not the very old ones, right? Just the newer trilogy from the 2010s.
Yeah, and when you say rewatched, I've rewatched part of it because I never actually finished it.
Right. Okay. Well, I watched the new Wages of Fear, even though I haven't seen the original. I couldn't make time for that one, and it's like an hour longer than the French remake on Netflix. Spoiler alert. I would rather go see the original. I can already tell you it's much better. This one was pretty bad. Then I also called Girl State, and I actually rewatched something that I had seen before with La La Land, which was the double feature pick that I offered last week with The Promised Land, La La Land. That was my very intelligent and observing tie over, and yeah, I did my own double feature.
Yeah, very good. I'm very jealous. Finally, as I said, it's Monkey Week, which means we are doing a double feature as well. Well, it doesn't mean that, but it means we are doing a double feature because two major films released and they both involve monkeys. We are going to talk about the action-packed Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, and Dev Patel's directorial debut, which is also quite action-packed, Monkey Man.
I'm going to title this episode Godzilla X Monkey Man, and apparently from all of the promotional material, you're not supposed to say the X. It's like Hunter x Hunter, that anime, but nobody knows about that.
Godzilla Kong? Oh god.
Yeah, Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. It's just confusing, and marketing guys keep getting more money for weird title choices, which brings me to our title card. So let's cue up that intro. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, welcome back, Lachlan. I really hope you're doing better soon. You're about to go on a bit of a break. And yeah. I think we probably are going to have episodes out every week, but if we're missing 1 week, then it's just because we're taking a break, and that's also fine once in a while.
I don't like taking breaks because I get sick, which is why I work so hard, because if I stop working, I get sick, and my body kind of knows I'm about to come up to like a week break where I'm not actually working. I'm just relaxing. My body's like, make him sick, get him sick. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck, hell, here we go. So I kind of expected this to start at some point, but here we are.
Well, I really hope you do get better soon so you can enjoy the holiday without, getting rejuvenated just by the sun and not by having to rest. But yeah, so that's next week. We got a jam-packed episode this week, but before we talk about all the movies that we watched, let's have a look at some of the upcoming releases. Again, adding to the May 3rd release date. I thought like last week we already had like 4 titles that come out in May. Crazy jam-packed there. Cuckoo, a horror film that premiered at the Berlinale earlier this year, back in February, with Hunter Schafer in it, and a Cuckoo trailer about a Cuckoo movie. I didn't hear the greatest things about the film since it premiered, so I'm a bit worried that this one is actually good. I think it also played at South by Southwest. Lachlan, from the trailer, are you interested in Cuckoo?
I would be. I like the style of it. I am kind of excited to see it. I also am excited to see something that Hunter Schafer's in other than Euphoria. Yeah, it would be kind of fun. I mean, she was also in Hunger Games, but it was kind of like a character, so don't really care that much. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I've heard mixed things, but I've kind of recently been getting into a bit of horror. Like I'm kind of excited for some horror movies this year. It's a weird thing for me, but here we are.
We didn't plan to cover the first Omen, but from some people they tell me it's actually like pretty good. They liked it quite a bit. Is that one of the films you're interested in?
I was thinking more along the lines of Long Legs, but I've heard
Oh,
great things about the first Omen as well. So is horror
yeah.
having a comeback? Here we go, baby. I'm ready.
Yeah, we're ready for horror all year round. And I feel like it's not anymore just a dumping ground on the first couple of months of the year for bad horror films, and then you gotta wait until fall. And sometimes I feel like the in between releases is usually April and May for some horror films. But yeah, if we get them every couple of months, we get like a really good one. I'm down for that. I think horror is a pretty fun genre. I don't know if you're familiar with any of the Green Brothers books. I personally read a couple of them. Have you ever read any of their stuff? No, no,
Not
never was a
interested.
Fault in Our Stars kind of guy, or
Nah.
what is it called?
Not not my thing.
Yeah.
Somebody else's thing. That's totally cool. Just
It's
not for
actually
me.
it was my thing, like growing up, I'd say like 10 years ago. I read some of the books and then was interested in the adaptation of those books right at the age where like that was intriguing to me. But this one I don't remember. I own the book and I think I've read it. I don't remember anything about the book though. And I confused it with actually Hank Green's book that I found to be quite more interesting to be adapted in a way because it felt like so closer to already like a film type of script or like a series type of script. But with Turtles all the way down, yeah, you got a character who has got like a lot of phobias and stuff like that, and I feel like in a book, in a novel, it's easier to maybe empathize with someone like that when I see it played out on me, and I just see a person that's struggling with all of that, and we don't see the internal struggle, and that's like the central character. It can get like really repetitive and like kind of over like exhausting. So I don't know if I'm actually interested in this. I'll probably check it out. I'll try it out, but yeah, the trailer personally didn't get me too interested in this.
Join the club.
There we go. And then yeah, have you seen anything from Jim Cummings before?
Of course, I've seen Jim Cummings' stuff. I'm super excited for this next one, even
Mhm.
though it's not from Jim Cummings. He's just in it.
No. Yeah. But I guess he's one that is like pretty active online when it comes to like he has his own letterboxd account. He's on Twitter all the time, so it feels like he's very close to the dialogue on film. And then yeah, he also makes film. He also stars in film. He does a bit of everything. I do have an embarrassing thing to admit. That about 4 years ago, I thought that Jim Jarmusch and Jim Cummings were the same person, and I just didn't realize that. I thought like, huh, that's crazy that he's so active online, and then yeah, I realized totally not. It took me like 2 weeks probably that I thought that they were the same person. But the last stop in Yuma County is a good teaser up until like about a minute in, and then it continues. And Lachlan, I don't know if you turned off the teaser or the trailer. I'd say it's probably more of a trailer because it gives so much away already. Like, I think it's interesting just watch the first minute, tune out, and I'm gonna be seeing this one. It could be very fun. His humor is usually quite entertaining, and yeah, like you said, Lachlan, you're also looking forward to this then?
Yeah, no, I'll watch some of the stuff that he's in. This is, I think, this person who's making this movie. It's their debut,
Hmm.
Francis Galuppi. They look like they haven't done much else other than shorts and music videos. So yeah, it definitely would be their debut. Yeah, I'm kind of staying for the vibe of it all, and the humor hopefully will be there. I want good comedy. I want good comedy. I want that to come back.
Yeah, and I feel like you've been underwhelmed by comedy more often than not in the last since we started a podcast, actually. So yeah, you deserve a good comedy that you enjoy.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, there's no tie over. I was about to say. Speaking of quitting, no one's actually quitting. Quit comedy. We're quitting comedy because it's bad. I know there was like articles flying around, with quotes from Alex Garland that he's going to take a break from directing for a bit, and then it was kind of blown out of proportion, like he's gonna retire, yada yada, all of that stuff. And then it was cleared up by IndieWire in a follow-up interview that that's not what he meant. He wasn't taking a break from filmmaking, just directing. And as someone who was primarily a screenwriter before he started directing Ex Machina, yeah, it feels like that's just not what he's interested in, to be at the helm of a whole feature, but maybe in different roles. I feel like Jordan Peele has done that as well, where he could definitely just go like movie after movie after movie, but he's also interested in bringing up new people producing the stuff, like the film we're talking about later today with Dev Patel. This was just kind of a media frenzy where they didn't report on, I guess, what it meant, and just went with what would get more attention and more clicks. And it certainly did get more attention and more clicks, but wasn't really truthful. But Lachlan, him not directing anymore, do you think we're missing out on much here? Like, considering you haven't seen Civil War yet, his fourth feature, yeah. Or is he better off writing?
I don't know. I feel like he's got a good run of films as a writer. 28 Days Later, Sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote screenplay by Dread. That's the credit on
Yeah.
IMDb. But I have to admit, if he's gonna just stop after these 5 films, as much as I did not enjoy Men, and I think it's not that I didn't enjoy it, I just didn't think it was to the same standard as these other films. I still
Yeah, you
think
didn't
he's got
hate it
a
at all.
really awesome filmography under his belt.
Mhm.
I'm sure Civil War is going to be something completely different, which I'm excited to see, but I
Yeah.
absolutely loved Ex Machina when it first came out. I absolutely adored Annihilation, which was really funny that it never really got an Australian release. I had to watch it on a laptop because they didn't want to release it in cinemas. I had to watch it on Netflix. But I think that it might just be that's not him. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's deep down a director, and I think that maybe he just wanted the most creative control from the narratives he was writing, and
Yep.
I get that. If you write something, you really want it to be adapted to screen the way that you wrote it. But he might just be wanting to collaborate with people that do share his same vision for a screenplay.
Mhm.
And that means he can focus more on writing an in-depth narrative than having to focus on directing it and kind of it all falling apart. If he just focuses on telling a story, then he can tell the story and put it into the hands of someone to make that story a vision. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Let's see what he writes next and see how that's adapted.
I mean, he already has written something, and he's going to co-direct Warfare. I don't think he's opting out on directing that one, unless Ray Mendoza, I think, is the director who's also first-time director then for feature.
Yeah.
If he's taking over, but yeah, it's not even that he's quitting directing. He's just like co-directing. I think it's probably something similar along the lines of just having so much, like everything coming back to you on a production. I feel like that's got to be exhausting, and yeah, maybe that's just not fulfilling to him, or he's had a run and he needs a break from it, or yeah, it doesn't really matter. I don't think we're gonna, like, similar to how Tarantino says he's gonna stop after 10 movies and then keeps teasing that he probably wouldn't quit filmmaking altogether, just not feature films. He's still gonna stay in the creative field. It's not like he's dropping out of existence as soon as he's premiered his 10th film. But yeah, interesting story. I feel like Civil War is a film we're gonna talk about, I think, in 2 weeks time. I can recommend it because it's gonna come out by the time you were on holiday on break, Lachlan. I can recommend it. It's again, if you're going in for a political movie that's not really, like, at least on the current landscape, you're not getting that. It's maybe a potential glimpse into the future that is not ours in a way, and it's more like on a sound level, a like technical showcase in a way, and yeah, just quite a riveting thriller and a road movie. Well, yeah,
Is it gonna have some? Is it gonna have some really good DVD extras behind the scenes? You reckon that film?
In what way DVD extras?
Civil War. Like, you know how there's like the making of? Like, do you think it's gonna have a really interesting making of behind the scenes?
I mean, yeah, because it costs a lot of money, so you can see a lot of it goes into the sets that they build.
Yeah.
Not that like, hey, it's had a more interesting DVD feature if it costs more money. That's not what I was trying to say. But it
Yeah.
has like a lot of I don't know. The scenes aren't that like it's not like it doesn't have like Children of Men type of action scenes. It does have like action high stakes stuff, but it's never like super big. At least in my opinion. Yeah, there's certainly probably some interesting behind the scenes stuff. Which yeah, Matrix. So remember Matrix? We covered that one like when did it come out? 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Resurrections. They're doing another one, Lachlan.
Oh,
Why?
wow.
That is well,
Money.
money. I know that's the age old answer to all of that, but yeah, from the writer of The Martian, Cabin in the Woods, World War Z, Cloverfield, and he is the director of Cabin in the Woods as well. He also did
Do you
Bad
reckon
Times at El Royale. So yeah,
do
that's
you
a
reckon they
director.
got into a writer's room and they were like trying to think of new ideas? And they were like, so what if there's this post apocalyptic world where AI took over and they use us as batteries and they go, oh, fuck, that already exists. All right, well, that's a great idea. Let's make a fifth one.
Yeah, let's just maybe he had a different idea. It's also funny if you look on his letterbox profile from Drew Goddard and you go to director. There's Matrix 5, there's Untitled Matrix sequel, and Untitled New Matrix film that are all different pages on Letterboxd. So
Hell yeah.
maybe it's the 3 different movies and they're all set in a different reality, and that's the concept of Matrix 5. That like no one gets like everyone experience every different theater and every different screening is a slightly different showing because it all is like live calculated by AI.
Yes.
Matrix
Is
future.
Keanu coming back?
I don't know if there's any details other than that Goddard is
Are the
directing.
Wachowskis involved?
I don't think they are. No, it really is. I don't know. There's not a lot of details yet. Just that they're doing it, and yeah. Again, we are asking why, and we know the answer is money. Well, then, from one franchise to the next, we got Fantastic Four. Maybe they'll add a fifth one when it makes enough money. But no, Julia Garner has been cast as Silver Surfer for that film. I'm not too familiar outside of like the pretty dreadful 2000s film and Fan Four Stick. I'm not too familiar with the Fantastic Four. Didn't read the comics. I don't know if you have read any of them or any series. I don't know. Yeah, you
I
familiar
used to
with the
be
Silver
obsessed with
Surfer?
the first two live action Fantastic Four films when I was younger. I thought
Yeah,
I really enjoyed them. They were just like
yeah.
I was a kid, right? So I am familiar with the Silver Surfer from both that, but also just I know who the Silver Surfer is.
You know what? Like I used to get go to the flea market quite often, get like Blu-rays and DVDs. And one time I was like getting a bunch of them from this one guy. He gave me a a bootleg copy of both of the Fantastic Four films, and I was like, "No, I don't
Brilliant.
want them." And he's like, "No, it's for free." And I was like, "Yes, I know, I don't want them."
I don't want them.
And he just added them into my bag. I was like, oh, I
You
came
should go
home
back
and was
and watch them.
they would be if we'll definitely revisit them. I think when the new one comes out in 2025, it's just a long while off, but that could be fun to revisit them. But yeah, Julia Garner, Ozark, probably her most notable role. I don't know if you know her from anything else. You probably haven't seen The Assistant yet, right?
She was
Julie
in
Green.
the Royal Hotel most recently.
Ah, yes, that is true. That's where she was in. Yes, that's also the latest thing I saw her in. Yeah, interesting. Silver Surfer. Again, not that familiar with the character, but like you said, you've also only seen the movies. I assume she's gonna fit the role. I don't know.
Mm.
Cool. More casting. What I found funny is that every reporting thing is I don't know, maybe not that big a deal. It's also not like something really bad, but the reporting was always just Julia Garner cast as female Silver Surfer. I was like, I don't know if it's just like she's cast as Silver Surfer, but I guess that means that he probably always was a man in the comics so far, but
There's different versions of the Silver Surfer. There is her character is based off of a comic line.
Right. Okay. Well, interesting. Looking forward to this. This could be another bright spot for the
Shalabal.
MCU. Alabal?
Shalabal.
Okay. Well, I can't say I'm familiar, but yeah. If it turns out good, this could be another big thing for the MCU if they end up making a good film. Before we get into the stuff that we've been watching this week, leave us a rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast goes a long way to actually help Lachlan take a break, you know, because he isn't taking breaks anymore, and this podcast isn't paying him anything to go on holiday. But it still is here, and the 5 stars do help. Don't question the actual logic into what goes on when you leave that and how that benefits us. It gets us into film festivals as well. That's another thing. But if you want to support us directly as well, then there's an Amazon link below where you can purchase stuff through it if you watch something. And yeah, pay with our link through it, then we get a little bit of a kickback. That's also appreciated. And leave a like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. So many different avenues that you could be consuming this right now. We never know where you're coming from. So yeah, you can let us know. But yeah, Lachlan, let's get to the stuff that we've been watching this week. Dude, you were on a tear. Usually you don't watch that stuff. I guess it was your sickness kicking in. You were like, all right, let's get on bed.
No.
Let's cue it up.
No, I fucking barely focus when I'm sick. So that's the thing. I knew it was Monkey Week, so I've been putting them on earlier on in the week. And I've been watching a decent amount of stuff. So I finished 3 Body Problem. Okay. Yeah, whatever.
Right?
It's done. Will they do a second season? Probably. 3rd, most likely. 4th, maybe. 7th, maybe. 8th, probably not that good of a season. And then they'll fuck it up. So there we go. I started watching Carol and at the End of the World and the End of the World. It was on Netflix and I saw it and it looked interesting. I put a couple of episodes on last night trying to fall asleep because I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I just need something on in the background that is not my breathing. So I played that. And it was pretty cool. Ewan, you caught Love Lies Bleeding. I forgot to include it last week in what I've been watching because it came out and I went and gone seen it. Maybe we can have a discussion about that when you talk about it. But I saw that like 2 weeks ago. And then yes, Ewan said it in the intro, but I watched Rise, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes this week because it's Monkey Week. Monkey. First of all, I've seen. By the way, I watched them all on 4K because I got them all on 4K. First of all, let me explain the series to someone who hasn't seen the series. Okay, this movie Rise is like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. They are a bit more lighthearted movies compared to the rest of the series, but they are foundational to the series. That is what these are. This is a fucking brilliant film. It's a really great film. This is kind of like
Prisoners of Azkaban.
For me, Prisoners of Azkaban and Order of the Phoenix. They're both really good films for different reasons, for terms of scale and narrative. I think that is this film, and then this is the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, which aren't the best, but kind of conclude the series and go places that I wasn't expecting. But what I will say is this is a lot of fun. I remember that being a lot of fun, and it was. This was phenomenal, and I was blown away by it, and I think this is the best of the series, which when I first started watching this years ago, because I tried watching these years ago, I just wasn't enjoying it, but I sat down and I enjoyed this. This was great. This one was interesting because I like it, but I don't like it. And there are a lot of elements that I do not enjoy, but there are elements that are great about it. The one thing I will say is there are moments in this film that I thought, fuck, are they using puppets? That CGI looks really, really good. Like, to the point that I paused the movie to look at it being like, is that practical or is that CGI, because there are shots in this that are just absolutely phenomenal in terms of the CGI of the characters of the apes themselves.
Mm.
And that to me was super intriguing. What I would say as well is that this is a bit of a safer bet. This in terms of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Forgot that I'm just telling people,
No.
I'm
It's
showing it, but
perfect on
I'm gonna say
audio. It
Dawn
draws
of the
more
Planet
people to
of
the
the
YouTube.
Apes is one of the better ones. Dawn of the Planet
Yeah.
of the Apes is also the safer of the two, because obviously Rise of the Planet of the Apes was directed by somebody else, okay, his name starts with Rupert. Rupert
Rupert.
Wyatt. So directed by somebody else, and then these two were directed by Matt Reeves, and they are completely different, right? Again, it's kind of like the Christopher. Is his name Christopher Columbus, or am I just making that up in my head right now?
No, Chris Columbus.
For
Yeah,
Harry
Christopher
Potter.
Columbus.
Yeah.
For Harry Potter,
I
yeah.
was like, no, that guy fucking founded America or something. No. Yeah. And I was like, then he also made
No,
two Harry
he
Potter
was up to a
movies.
lot of stuff. Yeah.
This is very, very different. And then these are a lot darker. But
Mm.
War of the Planet of the Apes plays a lot like a classic epic in my eyes. Like the score sounds like an epic from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It feels like a Lawrence of Arabia. It feels like a Cleopatra. It plays out as an epic. It also
Mhm.
plays out like the fucking Great Escape. It's basically the Great Ape Escape, or
Yeah.
the what's the other one that I thought of?
The Great
That I
Apescape.
that probably isn't original at this point because the joke's probably remade. But like I said the Shore Ape Redemption, but I was like, that makes sense because part of the film plays out in a prison, and
Mhm.
I find that the villain in Dawn is better than the villain in War. But I
Yeah, for
find
sure.
what War does for the world is more interesting than what this does for what Dawn does for the world. So I'm in mixed places right now because in terms of ratings, I gave the Rise a 3, I gave Dawn a 4, and then I gave War a 3 as well. But I don't think Rise and War are to the same level of each other. I
Mhm.
find that there are elements that are better in Rise, but it's a completely different narrative that they're going for compared to what they're going for in War.
Yeah.
So for me, like maybe in order, I think I want to go Dawn's the best, then it's War, then it's Rise, but I feel like people want to put Rise before War.
No,
I
I
don't
think
know. It's a really
yeah.
interesting idea.
I think Rise is the one that it's the least liked out of the three. It's just my gut instinct. It's also
But
like my
but
rating for it.
yeah,
It's the lowest.
but like yeah, I just found it interesting how War plays out like an epic, and I know that there's a lot of films that inspired Matt Reeves with War, but I just felt that
Mhm.
narratively it was the weakest for character development. It just kind of felt like it was going for the same. It was going in the same place around in circles quite a bit. But
Mhm.
Dawn was fantastic. But that was my 3 other movies that I watched in the Ape series. Now I'm ready for Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm also ready for Kingdom. Although I probably will do the same and do a triple feature of all of them. If I remember correctly, they're also, I was about to say not too long, but then I see they're all over 2 hours. No, the first one is only 105. Well,
Time flies when you're
having apes.
yeah.
We both watched Love Lies Bleeding. I think we're gonna dedicate a whole like episode to it in a spoiler review. So I'll probably I'll keep my I guess thoughts brief on it, and maybe if you want to share some stuff. I just came off of it literally right before we started this recording. Came in from a press screening, and
I think I'm more positive than you are with it
yeah,
from
yeah.
your review, from your rating.
Again, it's like a film I heard very good things about. It's similar. We're going to have that conversation again when we're talking about Monkey Man, because I don't know, man. I think South by Southwest and even Sundance sometimes, I can't really trust people who watch stuff there because they tend to overrate stuff that am way more like mellow on. And to me, this was a very standard type of crime drama. It wasn't different than like 20 other films I've seen before. other than like a couple choices, obviously. And I didn't like the choices that it took. So it was like I don't know. It was just like it went a bit big in some places where I thought like, why are you getting big? And yeah, I also Kristen Stewart didn't 100% work for me in this role, to be perfectly honest. And I also wasn't the biggest fan of her debut feature, Saint Maud, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh yeah, Saint Maud, they already kind of liked or liked less, but this one is way better than that one." I don't feel the same. To me, they're kind of in the same range. And I also wasn't a fan of the sound design. I know she comes from horror, and that's her inspiration. And this movie is at times more a horror film than it is a thriller, to me at least on the sound level. It like I don't know. There's some sound design choices that made me jolt, and I was in the very front of the theater, so people kept seeing me like jolt around in the front. I was pretty uncomfortable at times. But yeah, Lachlan, you liked it a bit more than I did.
I did. I enjoyed it for what it was. Unfortunately for me, I feel the ending is just a little bit. It does something at the end that is very artsy fartsy is what I'd like to say, and the
Yeah,
rest of the film does have its artistic blend to it, but I feel like it's a bit out there for what the ending is and just makes it less believable. And I was kind of hoping that it would. Yeah, you can have moments that are more artistic than others, and they do add to the story, but you can't kind of have like a Deus ex machina moment with the ending to kind of like help you wrap it up very quickly by making someone more powerful than what they actually are. And you can have a moment that makes them seem tougher and stronger, and they can be, but to kind of blow it to a proportion, to a scale that's bigger, I just didn't enjoy that. People will know
yeah,
exactly what I'm talking about if they've seen the film. If you haven't, keep
yeah.
that in the back of your mind. Forget about it. You can have your own opinion because I feel like some people are going to love that. Some people are going to hate it. Ewan,
Yeah.
did you love
If
that or
it,
did you hate it?
no, I didn't like it, but it feels like a moment that
Cool.
people in America at least would clap at, like, oh my god. And
Right.
that type of reaction where it's like certain moments are like a bit out of nowhere where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And we even like usually press people don't react. They're like, dude, it's just like someone died and then a cinema screen. Like they come in as if someone has died by the way that they are reacting to like nothing. But this got a couple of chuckles, but usually it felt more like they're laughing at the film than with the film. Maybe I liked it a bit more than some other people in that screening, but yeah, I couldn't say I'm a fan, unfortunately. I think we're gonna get a bit more in detail with this one because I feel like there's a lot to talk about. There's some good choices that it makes, and some filmmaking to be praised, some directional choices, some acting choices that are quite intriguing. Which I can't say about the new Wages of Fear, a remake of what I found out to be also a French film remade by Netflix, and it is so bad. It's so bad. It just got worse and worse as it went on. I was like, okay, well, this is just Wages of Fear, where they have to like transport something across a dangerous path, and there's going to be a bit of action. It's also a bit of a road trip film, but not really. Essentially, just like a long ride. And it underwhelmed me at every step of the way because I wanted to watch this one and then the original so I could have a comparison for the review of the new one. And it burned me out so much that after I watched this, I just went back to watching Seinfeld. So that's how bad it did. Which, by the way, I'm almost done with the whole show now. And I just want to get to Curb Your Enthusiasm because that's wrapping up with the final season, and I'm watching Seinfeld before I do that. But yeah. Then on Apple TV Plus, we got Girl State. A couple of years ago, was a Boy State came out about like those political programs that basically every state apart from Hawaii has in America where young people go, teenagers, and they can get courses on how to become a reptile. And they do it pretty successfully usually. But this one ends up less being about the actual institution of what they go through and maybe a narrative that comes out like who's going to be mayor or whatever the fuck they do. This one is way more about like how still in Girl State they do it in the same place as Boy State thing, and how they don't have the same opportunities, obviously on a larger scale, but then just camp wise. They don't have the same thing. It becomes a lot about like voting and not talking about politics in politics, and just basically popularity contests and like how that stuff sort of was. That was kind of intriguing to me. I found that quite compelling. And then it's also at the backdrop, just a couple of days before Roe v. Wade gets overturned. They are basically at this camp, like 7 days after it finishes, it gets overturned. So it's like that's also something that they're discussing. But the political discussion isn't really at the forefront. I just found it quite intriguing. I found it a bit better even than Boy State, just because it's like some easier stuff to get behind. You're still like, if you want to cringe, you can watch like Tim Robinson, or you can go watch anything Nathan Fielder does, like with The Curse. Or you can watch young people try to be political. It is, holy shit, it's so uncomfortable. But yeah, if you're into that sort of thing, I surely wasn't. I just found it really interesting. Then that's Girl State. That's streaming on Apple TV Plus right now. I watched the first 2 episodes of Sugar, a new Colin Farrell show. Apple finally sent me some screeners as well, so now I just don't have the time to watch the 7 series that they sent me all at once. And I started to watch Sugar, and I really liked the first episode. It has so many artistic choices that it takes, like visually, narrative wise. I was like, oof, can it hold it up, that quality from the first episode? And I've only seen the second one. It's fallen off a bit, but what I hear from other reviewers that have finished the whole series, it doesn't. But I'd like to make my own opinion about that, so we'll be finishing the series for next week. But I guess it's a soft recommendation so far. It's also going to premiere with the first 2 episodes that are already out now. And then lastly, yeah, I rewatched La La Land. My little brother asked me to finally watch a movie with him again. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Let's do La La Land. And I was like, do you want to look at what film we want to do? Yeah, no, La La Land. We're watching La La Land right now. And I remember watching that film for the first time, tuning it off at the end, like shutting it off by the end of that first like performance on the highway. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not in the mood for this at all. Didn't watch it for another like a year or two. Came back to it, quite liked it. Didn't love it as much as a lot of other people did when it almost won Best Film at the Oscars. And I was still had that doubt in my mind that maybe I'm just like saying this movie is better just because the consensus is on it, that like this movie is amazing. And then I watched it and I got into it and I was like, no, I don't love this at all. No, musicals. And by the end of it, I was like shedding a tear. I was like, oh my God, fuck, this movie is so beautiful. It's so good. It's so good. But it's also a bit cringy at times, but it's so good.
Agree.
La La Land. Definitely worth checking out and maybe even giving it a rewatch. All right, let's get to discussion time this week. We're going to decide which movie is the best in the recent Monsterverse saga, or just, I guess, the US-made Godzilla and King Kong films. So we got 7 movies here from the franchise, the shared franchise of Godzilla and Kong. They are seeded by their ratings on Letterboxd, which has King Kong at the top, followed by Kong Skull Island. So Kong is definitely favored when it comes to, I guess, the Letterboxd ratings, followed by Godzilla from 2014, Godzilla Kong the New Empire, Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla vs. the Monsters, and then lastly, we got Roland Emmerich's Godzilla from 1998. So yeah, Lachlan, we've all seen them. You know, we should definitely catch up on some more, on more of the Japanese side, at least from Godzilla. We're not including, I guess, the very first King Kong, which also would be an American film. But yeah, just the recent stuff here. And we do have a voting round. King Kong is already in the semifinals, but we got to decide what its matchup is going to be. And that is between, I guess, the 2 most recent films, with Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, and Godzilla vs. Kong. Yeah, between those 2, Lachlan, what's your favorite?
There was a lot of good things with Godzilla versus Kong, in my opinion, but one of the weakest things to that was how hard they tried to make me care about some pathetic little humans, okay? They tried really hard to make me care.
Isn't that a problem with all of them?
However, in Godzilla Kong the New Empire, they realized that the humans don't fucking matter. So they wrote them to not fucking matter. And that made me enjoy the movie a lot more because there was a lot more Godzilla and Kong and less humans being humany. So, Godzilla, Kong, the New Empire.
I mean, for the same reasons for me, I feel like we get full on monkey mode in Godzilla Kong, and the bros hash it out and team up, which is a nice thing to see. So yeah, we're gonna vote through the latest flick from the franchise. Next up, we got Kong Skull Island versus Godzilla from Roland Emmerich, the one from '98, which is my birth year. It's as old as me. I'm going to be a Skull on an Island soon as well. Listen, I'm surprised that Skull Island is the second seed when you rate these on when you rank them on Letterboxd. Apparently, there's a lot of fans of Skull Island. I remember watching that film and completely hating every bit of it, every attempt at humor. I think it is like a pretty silly movie overall, I guess, with a bunch of murder. I don't know. I don't know what people see in it, but it's probably not as bad as Godzilla from 1998, which basically stopped like American-made productions of this franchise for like 16 years. So I mean, it's hard to vote again, like for that. So I'm gonna go with Skull Island, I guess, reluctantly.
Look, I I don't think Godzilla from 1998 is a great film.
Mhm.
However, what I will say is Emmerich knows how to make a monster movie and a disaster movie, and it does do a good job to make you feel the scale. But even though you hate Skull Island,
I hate
Skull
it.
Island to me is a fuck ton of fun. Like, you've got Loki, you've got Captain Marvel, you've got Nick Fury in the film. Like, you've got the biggest MCU cast before they started making it cameos in like Ghosted and whatnot. So you've
Yeah.
got a sick cast. You've got some really beautiful cinematography, if I might say so. I find
True,
Kong
yeah.
Skull Island is absolutely stunning, and I think that Jordan Voight
Belford?
Roberts, who directed it, not Belford, really knew what he was doing, and I know that he has plans for other films
Metal Gear
in
Solid?
his like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
But that's in production hell. But I know that he's
Yeah.
a really cool visual director, and he really nailed it with Kong Skull Island. I also felt that it was just a lot of fun and didn't take it super seriously, and made Kong this really fun-loving giant ape. So for me, it's Kong Skull Island.
Maybe I ought to revisit Skull Island and just turn off my pretentious glasses.
And realize you're wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, I definitely I also voted for it in this round. It's not like I'm taking 98's Godzilla over it. But then I think the next matchup here, we do have two pretty solid movies in the franchise with Godzilla from 2014 and Godzilla King of the Monsters. Lachlan, I want to hear from you first, because I have a clear favorite between the two.
Yeah, so do I. I don't know how you said. Did you say these are both good?
One of them is good.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say because I thought you said they're both good, and I was like, bro,
Well,
the only good
one of
one
them-
there is Godzilla.
One of them was in production while we were studying in Australia, and I think I saw into the backlot some of the stuff that they I saw the sound stages, because the door was open once and I glimpsed in.
You gave it a 2.5. Wow, I gave it a 2. Look, the Millie Bobby Brown Godzilla can go burn in hell. It's going to Godzilla 2014 because that movie was wicked. Talking about visual directors, Gareth Edwards did a fantastic job making Godzilla not be this
Huge.
not making him this flexible lizard.
Mm-hmm.
He still made him big and slow, and you felt the impact.
Edward's Godzilla
of
is skipping
Godzilla.
yoga sessions all
So
day, every day.
I don't want anything else to go ahead besides this one. This is it's got to be
No.
Godzilla.
I'm also going with Godzilla, but I think King of Monsters gets a lot of flack. I feel like the actual fighting
Because it's
is
shit.
it's pretty fun. It was more because Skull Island. Actually, we're not gonna debate it because it got voted out. But Skull Island is way more about like the fun bits with the characters, and I didn't like the characters. This one still has the characters because all of these movies have the same issue. The humans are fucking awful. But they still they have the fights. King of Monsters. There's a lot of fighting. in this one, when the first one, 2014, didn't have as much, but it got the scale of Godzilla right, or way better, probably the best out of all of these. But yeah, I didn't hate King of Monsters. I think it was just probably on par with the latest one. Which, all right, King Kong, Peter Jackson against Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. And now King Kong, it's Peter Jackson, so it's gotta be 3.5 hours long, I think. It's been a while since I've rewatched that one. Lachlan, I don't know when the last time was that you've seen King Kong from 2005, and how well I guess that has aged.
I haven't seen it in a hot minute. Now, my only problem is that you said these were US based, or American based King Kong and Godzilla movies. This is a New Zealand production.
Yeah.
So technically it should be disqualified.
Okay. Well, we should also get in the original King Kong film from the 30s, technically.
Okay.
But we didn't.
So this is the closest you'll get to traditional King Kong. It's the last traditional King Kong movie we got. And I think that it has its place, but I feel like the new Kong has evolved to be something a lot more. So if you're looking for a visual flair to the original King Kong, then you should look at this, and I think that it definitely has its place. However, it does not beat the just under 2 hour, just under 2 hour monster mash, which is Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, which we'll be covering soon. While I think that King Kong is a better film, it doesn't get my heart racing as much as that movie did. So my vote's going to Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire.
Well, mine isn't. I'm gonna go with King Kong, because baby, I do love me some 3-hour long movies, and I just have a better memory of that King Kong film over like the movie I saw earlier this week. That was frustrating in a lot of moments, and even though it is way longer, it felt like it dragged quite a bit. So yeah, what do we do here? Like, do we duke it out? You can be Godzilla, and I'll be Kong.
Oh my god. I didn't really expect this. I think we just heads and tails it.
Yeah, we just heads and tails it. So you got a coin there? Is that what you?
I actually do. Funnily enough, I do have a coin. It's $1.
All right. Yeah, let's crush some heads. I'm going with heads.
And you going heads? All right.
Because you're voting for Godzilla, you should definitely pick tails.
All right, cool. Ready? It's heads.
Heads.
It's heads.
Ha! Let's go. I'm sorry.
Hey,
which that just means that unless there's going to be a huge upset, we are getting a Godzilla versus Kong in the finale, which is our other semifinal. Kong Skull Island versus that Godzilla film from Gareth Edwards. Now, do you love Skull Island that much that he would take it over that 2014 version? Or he just wants to fuck with me. I saw that smirk there. It's like,
So I really like Skull Island.
Right.
These are two very different films, and I love them for two different reasons. But I would be committing a sin if I said that it was better than Godzilla from 2014 by Gareth Edwards. I feel like that film struck this perfect balance of violence and pain, and it's, in my opinion, the best characters in this whole universe in a film. At least the human characters are the best in that one. So I'm going to go for my big Daddy King Deluxe Bryan Cranston Godzilla 2014.
Let's go, which brings us to the finale between King Kong and Godzilla 2014. I do like King Kong, but I think that first Godzilla, for the reasons you just said, we got some really stellar performances from great actors in it as well, other than a true titan destroying stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Godzilla for this one. What about you?
It's got to be Godzilla. I have no argument for King Kong. It's Godzilla all the way.
Although that other film,
Gareth
I really
Edwards,
don't mind
baby.
it. Gareth Edwards, give him more to do. He had a lot of stuff to do because they were like, he can do scale, and then he did Star Wars, and yeah, I don't know what happened. The creator shows his talents once more, and I'm keen to see what he does next. He certainly does have the talent. For some reason, I see he's attached to a Jurassic World movie. I forgot that's happening. That's not happening anymore, right? He was attached and then detached again.
Sounds like a Gareth Edward thing to make something and then be detached from it. Isn't that right? Disney.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Who owns Jurassic World's rights? Universal? No. Yeah?
Is it? I don't know actually.
Who owns
Paramount?
Who owns the Jurassic World IP? It's Universal.
Universal. Okay. Well, you were right about that.
Well, wait, hang on. Who owns the rights to Jurassic Park? Here we go. The TV and film rights to Jurassic Park are currently held by Amblin Entertainment, which is Steven Spielberg's production company. If you're wondering how that happened, the adventure started when Universal and Amblin purchased the rights to Jurassic Park. Okay, cool.
All right, so with Godzilla from 2014 crowned the best of all of these, let's talk about the latest one that we already voted out in another round. Again, against Lachlan's choice. I'm sorry about this one. You were voting for it to go all the way to the finale. Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire is now in theaters. It's finally also now in Swiss theaters. We had to wait an extra week because for some reason, Warner Bros. Was like, over Easter, no one goes to the theater, so I guess we gotta wait a week to release this one. It comes from Adam Wingard, who also did Godzilla vs. Kong, which Lachlan, you like way less than you like this new one. And apparently he's making a new one if they let him, and I feel like they are gonna let him because this movie did pretty well already for its $135 million budget. It had like an opening domestic weekend of 80 million. Early projections said like it was going to be 50. It already has made multiple $100 million, so it's definitely going to be a return on investment for Warner Brothers. So yeah, we'll likely see more from this franchise. But yeah, Lachlan, could you read us the log lines for Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire?
As we talk, it's made 214 million.
Damn.
Two ancient titans, Godzilla and Kong, clash in an epic battle as humans unravel their intertwined origins and connection to Skull Island's mysteries. Following their explosive showdown, Godzilla and Kong must reunite against a colossal undiscovered threat hidden within our world, challenging their very existence and our own. Both ass. Lachlan, can you do your own?
Thank you for reading that out word by word. There were actually two different log lines. One was from IMDb and the other one was from Letterboxd. And I do think they are both ass, Lachlan.
How about I just combine them?
It does sound a bit better. It gets a bit repetitive when it says Godzilla
Two ancient titans, following their explosive showdown, Godzilla and Kong must reunite against a colossal undiscovered threat hidden within our world, clashing in an epic battle as humans unravel their intertwined origins and connections to Skull Island's mysteries. It challenges their own very existence and our own.
Because you read that with more confidence than I think the first time around. I think it does work better. It just came off better, even if it's way longer.
It's because the first time I've just read it for the first time with this. Now I know what I'm getting myself into. Well, I can make my own if you want.
I mean, it's just Monkey Punch and Godzilla Punch. That's upside down.
Godzilla slap with tail.
Is it slap tail? Yes.
Godzilla spin. Bites and slaps. King Kong
Godzilla's
punches.
A nasty bitch. Yeah.
Fucking
blows.
Sorry, that's a spoiler. You should censor that.
Exists in these franchises for where there are like 50 movies in them.
You should censor that as well, so no one knows what we're saying.
But yeah, the movie has been received pretty much in the range that all of these Godzilla films tend to be received in, under 3, but not like at a 2.5. Yeah, pretty mixed responses usually for these. 2.9 on Letterboxd, 6.6 on IMDb, and a 47 on Metacritic. And yeah, like I said, it was made for $135 million. I think that's pretty respectable. I think the last one did cost a bit less, but for how big these movies are and how much of it is just like a complete CGI world, at least it didn't go for like 200 million plus and basically did something that this movie is not gonna make back. Yeah, that's rare to see in these days in blockbuster cinema, although there's a lot of stuff that I didn't like about it that is very much happening within blockbuster cinema again and again. So we're gonna do a spoiler review so we can actually reveal what we just censored, I guess, in a bit. But yeah, Lachlan, I'm gonna hand it off to you first because you're the one who I think clearly likes this more between the two of us. Looking at your rating of all of these films, which by the way we'll have a link below for both of us, but I see it ranks pretty high among like all of these films. So yeah, tell us more about that.
I think it's because it doesn't fuck around and just get straight into it.
Fuck around and
You
find out. Yeah,
yeah,
gonna get punched by
I
a monkey.
do not give a flying fuck about any of the humans in this world, okay? I have Monarch, the TV show, to give
Yeah.
me that because they have time to actually develop the characters and make them interesting. There's not enough time in 115 minutes to make me go, these are newish characters. They were developed great last time. I want to see them again. No. So
But one
what
of
they
them does a
decided to do
podcast,
was,
Lachlan,
yeah, one of them is a
and a
podcast. I felt like I was
documentary.
called out.
Wow.
I like how they were like, okay, here is the script, okay,
Yeah.
and we're going to take out all of our character development,
Mhm.
throw it over there, and the characters are just going to exist. And they're like, oh shit, no, what do you mean? What, we can't, these are the executives, of course, they're like, what do you mean? You can't, like, just throw out character development? That's a very important thing when it comes to making movies. And I'm sure the writers slash directors slash whoever the fuck at the time was talking to them goes, yes, but we're making a movie about the Titans. We're making a kaiju movie. Why do we need to talk about humans? And they go, oh yeah, good point. So,
Mhm.
fuck all character development. They all just kind of go from point A to B without any motive or care. And there is, but you know, it doesn't really matter. And for the moments that we do spend with them, you then spend another double or triple that watching some big boys fight. And I was happy. I was a happy boy. What can I say? I was having a
Yeah.
great time watching this movie because I got to see a bunch of douche, right? There's a moment where Godzilla, like Godzilla is just like screaming underwater and it's like muffled and it's like really funny that they're both screaming at each other underwater. There's a moment where King Kong picks up a small ape and uses it as a bat, and I thought, that's really funny. King Kong and Godzilla destroyed the entirety of Rio de Janeiro, and no one batted an eye, and I think the entire population is now dead because of the massive fight. And I found it really interesting that in previous films, like, they did kind of care if damage was done to particular cities, but in this film, they're like, fuck it. They can fuck off. We're going to destroy this entire city, and no one cares. So the care factor for humans went down. The care factor for the cities went down. The care factor for how badass this looks went up. And I can tell you for a fact, I was having so much fun the entire time.
You know that infamous meeting with James Cameron where he pitches the sequel to
S.
Aliens and he adds the S to it? I feel like for this, they came in and had a baby monkey with them and then proceeded to swing it around and hit the producers in their faces. And that's
they were
how
like, yes.
yes, they were like, yes, please spank me, monkey. And yeah, that is a very funny scene. It also comes kind of out of nowhere. You're not like expecting it, and then
It's great.
it is very funny. But yeah, it's not like it also doesn't fall into the trap of having this be like some long lost family for Kong, or like to be overly emotional, or him have like an arc of I gotta leave the violence behind or something like that. It's just like young little monkey kid, a small one, that really has no one or people to take care of him, but they live under this bad regime of bad monkey that they have to get rid of. And that's like the conflict. It doesn't need to go into like a full-on character development structure for a monkey. It can stay pretty simple, like bad monkey at the top, we gotta remove bad monkey because bad monkey does bad things and he wants to go up to world and also be bad monkey on top of the world. when it's not hollow, and it's fine. To me, what was a bit underwhelming is whenever they cut back to Godzilla, it's like, oh, he's killing another Titan, and he doesn't really fight them. It's like, obviously fights them, but he's like so overpowered. He comes in with 100 level paladin magic spell and just like basically barfs on them and kills them all in one go usually. And I think what was exciting was like the extended fights between these. So that's what, like, to me, the highlight was probably when they fight in Giza, in Egypt, the pyramids of Giza, because like it's between those two and it's an extended thing, and it's the claws of Fast and Furious with Vin Diesel and The Rock that like they have to be hit an equal amount. Other than that, like they can have it in, they have it in a contract to basically not have one of them like decisively win. I thought it was entertaining. To me, it dragged in a lot of moments, though. It felt like kind of unbearable whenever Brian Tyree Henry's character was talking. It was like very cringy, and it didn't really add much apart from we want this character in here that's like cracking jokes and be relatable to like the over the top things that we see happen. But yeah, the characters here are basically just here to observe. So we can say, hey, we're observing this because these characters are here. And then it does feel like it has a slightly different tone when they're not there and we are just with Godzilla or just with especially Kong. And yeah, the cinematography quite a highlight as well. The upside down world, it does go pretty crazy for a lot of it, because we spend a lot of time, the main time, I guess, on in Hollow Earth. But yeah, anything else that you really liked, like any standout fights that you particularly enjoyed?
As I said, did you get that?
Did you get any of that?
Their lack of care for the city in Rio de Janeiro was very exciting to watch. I'm pretty sure it was Rio de Janeiro. Am I wrong in that one? I'm pretty sure.
No, that was right.
Yeah,
that was right. Yeah.
Good.
He does care about Rome. He does really
they
care about
Rome, because that's the juxtaposition, right? They were like, "Oh God, don't everyone the Colosseum! Oh my God!" And then they'll just like destroy every building in Rio, and I was just like, "That is really funny how they decided to give a shit about one place, but not give a shit about another place." But hey, who cares, right? They're just big monkey fighting other monkey and fighting Godzilla, fighting a white Godzilla. That shoots ice. So yeah, no, there's not really much of a standout moment because it's really all just like one big moment throughout the entire thing. It doesn't really ever slow down except for when they're trying to tell this stupid bullshit like this Skull Island deaf girl is going to bring Mothra to us, and I was like, what? And then Mothra just appears, and I was like, okay. Yeah. I was like, that was such a bullshit storyline, but at least Mothra's here now. And turns out Mothra's just a glorified Spider-Man because like she was like going like to like all of them, and I was just that was crazy to see Mothra just people and bad guys and monkeys. Oh, and Lord Voldemort, the monkey Voldemort, you know, had the wand with the whip. With the whip. that was cool.
Yeah, it's nice weapon choice there.
I don't know. I feel like the film works until like I feel like if it was any longer, I'd probably hate it. But I feel like the film is just like the perfect length of fighting and the perfect amount of bullshittery. Yeah, and it takes itself this serious, like an inch of seriousness.
I mean,
because that guy, Trapper, great inclusion. To have that guy, because you got to have someone who's, you know, trusts his instincts, and they trust their instincts on this one, and they balanced it all perfectly, as all things should be.
But it's not like he doesn't solve anything per se other than make that out of nowhere hand adjustment thing for Kong, which, you know, that's just he hurt his hand, he needs it fixed. That's just like what they wrote into the story. I don't think he didn't need to have his hand replaced in that way. They could have just gone like, he got injured, he needs a bit of rest. They got like juju juice that they pump him full, or Mothra goes and give him
but you're wrong. He needed a mecha hand. Yeah,
no, for I get why that's there, but it's not like they give Trapper too much of a weight of what he does that
Oh
fixes
no, no.
everything in the
Why would
fight.
why
Where
would
like
they?
it's all
If
about
you
the
gave him a reason, we
Titans.
wouldn't have maybe another 30 seconds of Godzilla smacking the shit out of White Godzilla, Ice Queen Godzilla,
Mhm.
because we wanted character develop Trapper. I don't give a flying fuck about any of these characters, any of their development. Fuck them. Yeah, I don't need them to even give me a fucking title screen. Just give
Mhm.
me more schmacking of the Godzilla and kaijus. Also, now I'm thinking about it, it was discussed on the way home
Mhm.
from that. But why does Godzilla just like if his entire domain is the surface world, why is he so chill with letting all of those other titans also chill on the surface? Also, does he have to kill? Also, okay, so now we're getting really into it. Does he have to kill the titans to take its energy? Like could he just
That
not
one guy,
say
yeah, he did.
could he not just be like, "Hey, so is Godzilla
Pretty
the
please.
judge, jury, and oh my god, what am I trying to say here?
Execution.
Is Uwu, is Godzilla the judge, jury, and executioner to all kaiju? Like, does he decide who is inherently evil and who is not? Because he doesn't seem to give a fuck if you're good. Like Kong isn't bad as a character. He's just like lonely, right? He's a sad boy, but he's not evil, and Godzilla's not going to kill him.
Yeah.
Godzilla also does not kill Mothra because Mothra is also inherently good. But what makes a kaiju good?
He's
What is
American.
Godzilla? Is he the Judge Dredd of this fucking world? Does he just go around just being like, "You are guilty. I'm going to kill you"?
I don't know, because like with Monkey we get a bit more insight, other than like with Lizard we get less insight, and all the humans always tell us, "Ooh, that's what he's actually doing. That's what he was planning all along." It's like the anime
No, we had
pause
insight,
on
but
the
it was
fate.
with King of the Monsters, and that was trash.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the last one was more, or like the one before it was more focus on Godzilla. And
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, he wants to help humans or the surface world. I don't know why. It just seems
Godzilla
like,
is a good guy.
yeah, for some reason, at least in these American ones. And he's pink now, so you know he's progressive. So that's great.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, he made sure in Rio de Janeiro that all the gay guys and gals,
Knew it.
they survive. You know,
Yeah.
the rest of them sit on them. Those fucking cishet heteros sit on their faces. Stop. I don't know. I don't know about like what the motivations are to rid all of the titans. It feels just like we needed a visual power up for Godzilla. And yeah, I don't know what the motivation is to kill them all. What I find funny is that like we have it's the year of the monkey movie. You know, we also have Planet of the Apes, a new one coming out in about a month's time. But also, like without like a week or two apart, we got two movies that have Empire in that title. And in neither of them is it anywhere close to like an Empire. And I was looking up movies that also have Empire in the title, and all of them were pretty bad titles, other than like The Empire Strikes Back, where it makes sense why it's called The Empire. But Frozen Empire in Ghostbusters, there wasn't an empire at all. It's just one dude who was kind of cold and for a bit, and he made New York cold, and that's it. And a new empire, I don't know what it's supposed to mean here. What the new empire is, but maybe you have a better theory on what it means, or does it just sound cool?
It sounds cool.
It's very cool. Well, I don't know if we need to elaborate on that. So we're just gonna share our ratings for the film and move on.
I'm giving it a 3.
And I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. Again, if you're interested in where it ranks in all of the American Godzilla and King Kong films, then our lists are linked below. I also am trying to make my way through some of the older Godzilla films, but I might push it off until another one hits theaters in a couple of years. But yeah, there's a lot to catch up on from that franchise from the Japanese side. But let's move on to another film. A big episode this week. We'll see how long this actually turns out to be. But Dev Patel has his directorial debut out in theaters as well. Instead of almost getting released on Netflix, we are getting it in theaters. So that's Monkey Man from Dev Patel.
An anonymous young man unleashes a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who murdered his mother and continue to systematically victimize the poor and powerless.
Okay, that's a wordy logline for a movie that is ultimately like very simple. I think it says all that it is in that logline, which we'll
Mm.
get into if that's enough, if the action's there. Because like with John Wick, they killed a dog, and that was enough. But 121 minutes is the runtime for this one. Been received pretty positively so far. It premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival, got raving reviews, and is currently standing at a 3.8 on Letterboxd, a 7.4 on IMDb, and a 72 on Metacritic. So overall positive. It was apparently made for 30 million over at Netflix, and then bought for 10 million by Universal, if I got my numbers correct. But yeah, it's also co-produced by Jordan Peele. And it's about to come out, so we don't have any numbers on its gross yet, but it's nice at least to see when it can agree on that, Lachlan, that it's not just on Netflix but on Universal, because there's a lot of like darker lit scenes in this, and the compression, especially on Netflix as a streaming service, is really bad. I noticed it when I rewatched La La Land. Like even really vibrant colors, it looks so bad, especially in the evening scenes. So I'm really glad this is hitting theaters, and hopefully it will do well, because this sort of mid-budget action flick isn't being made unless we got the Fall Guy with Emily Blunt, Ryan Gosling, and all of them attached. But yeah, what did you make of Monkey Man, Lachlan?
As a directorial debut, I must say, it was fantastic
Yeah, impressive. Yeah.
to see such a creative mind put his heart and soul into this. And I've obviously read the previews of how he had COVID breakout at his filming location, and he had to really beg for the last part of this film to be made. And I'm glad he pushed, because I think this is a really interesting debut. I feel like it does suffer from some ideas, and I feel like it does drag at a certain point, but I really do think that Dev Patel has something here that would be interesting to see. And for me, the most exciting part is Dev Patel. He's an actor, he's a very big fan of cinema. You can see his inspirations on his sleeve when he's making this film. You can see what films he's inspired by, or what genre of film he's inspired by when he made this. So for me, this film was just so pleasant to watch. Even at its weakest moments, I had a ball with it.
Yeah, I liked it for the most part as well. Certain shortcomings where I felt like it was getting pretty repetitive, and I was clamoring to get places faster, because I thought that it wasn't like a lot of depth explored in a particular place. Then I wanted to get a fast track on some other stuff that was entertaining, because I feel like it was lacking on a character level, for me at least, for the main character. I didn't really love the amount of times it cut back to the same moment over and over and over again, because I got the context from like the first or second time it showed it already, and it feels like they cut back to it at least half a dozen times. And then like slowly reveal more, and I get that that is intriguing as a screenplay thing, especially for first time director, to have like this. The tension keeps building right until you move to the reveal. It's logical. It just didn't work for me. I feel like I needed more from that main character to get that. But then in the action, which is, I think, more sparse than I anticipated. I thought this was going to be more balls to the wall action nonstop. That's not the type of movie you're getting. So maybe it was my expectations also like kind of going into it that were mismatched with ultimately what this movie is. But then the action scenes, how scrappy they are, how how not like a perfect martial artist he is, to basically go up into a room with 5 people and fuck him up. That's not what Kid as a character is. So he is like nervous, he's overwhelmed, but he still uses everything to basically try and survive. It's all about survival and less about like exacting revenge and basically just hitting all the stops until he's done. You're not following that. And I think it would have been way more interesting if along his journey, it's way more about like, does he actually want to do that? If he's like only his only issue is that he's not strong enough, he's not ready, then I think that's not enough, which I feel like this movie kind of falls into at one point, that he needs to just train himself up to be like very strong and then he can do the final step. But I thought it would have been more interesting if like the path that he's down, he's like doubtful if that's the right way to go about it. Is he wasting his life away? But we never get a lot of insight into his character. Where like I would have appreciated that a bit more when it focuses so much on his story.
So I find that this film, you've kind of said it perfectly. The characters lack any sort of depth, and I think that where Dev Patel has probably failed the most at this film is the script, the screenplay itself. After all, he is the writer of this film.
Mm,
So maybe his strengths do lie in directing, but not necessarily writing.
right.
And it'll be interesting to see if he continues to do the writing, directing category. Writing, directing, and acting category
Mhm.
that some other actors go about and some other directors go about. But I think that if he had more time to develop his character, that it would have been greater. But I also feel like halfway through this film, or not even, almost 3/4 of a way through this film, I was yet to find any sort of theme that it was sticking to other than
Mhm.
just revenge thriller.
Yeah.
And that to me made it indicate that the film didn't have anything it was trying to say. It was just a film. And not every film has to have a message behind it, but it does give you something to chew on and it does give you some complex ideas to work with. But it
Yeah.
throws a lot at you and nothing really sticks. And again,
Yeah.
that's all going to come down to the actual narrative itself and the actual writing of the film. But I agree with your reveal of as well. I thought this was going to be more action packed, at least from what people were saying. It was going
Yeah.
to be more action packed, but I was actually kind of more pleasantly surprised by how actionless it was, and it kind of gave me this sort of Green Knight journey that another Dev Patel film,
Yeah.
this sort of spiritual journey. And for
Mhm.
me, even though the writing, so for me, I was sitting at the start of the film, I was sitting at like a solid 4 from the point that he sort of made his way into the hotel up until that end of that fight scene. I was like, fuck yes, this
Mhm.
is a 4, right? Then
Yep.
it really slows down and it goes on this
Yeah.
spiritual journey. And for me, I was like, oh hell yeah, we're gonna do a spiritual journey, because there is nothing I love more than like
Training
mythologies and like
montage.
like training montages and shit
Yeah.
like that. So I was getting super excited, but it kept going and going, and not much was happening. And then the training montages weren't even that exciting. Although I did enjoy the callback to the later fight where the only score was this stringed instrument. It sounded like similar to the drumming to him fighting. It was a certain
Mhm.
rhythm he was fighting with, and I found that interesting. But for me, the film started losing stars. It had so much that I was super excited by and then lost it. But I did also enjoy his progression, not as a character, but his fighting style of this scrappy, useless, like trying to cling on to anything, trying to do almost anything to stay alive, to this
Yeah.
almost John Wick esque fighter, which you again showing the inspirations on his sleeve. They reference John Wick in the film, but
Name
he's
dropping,
in a
yeah.
suit, and I love the whole men and women in very gentlemanly attire is the best way I could say it, doing ungentlemanly things.
Mhm.
And I love that with this film, with how good people looked and how violent they were. So for me, this film has its flaws, it has its positives, and I think that overall the film does end up standing on its own 2 feet. But I might be just be a little bit biased because I really love Dev Patel, but I also love Sharlo Copley. Like I love Sharlo Copley in almost anything he does. I've loved him
Right.
ever since I've seen him in District 9, Elysium,
Yeah.
and Chappie, and I've loved him in almost every other thing that he's been in. I love Hardcore Henry, which is a stupid thing to reference, but
Yeah.
there was a moment in this film that does go first person. I was like, oh fuck, Hardcore Henry in the back of my head just came out of nowhere. But
Yeah.
those two both have like these really interesting characters that they play, and
I think we wouldn't get as much of that like underground fighting ring if he wasn't playing Tiger, you know?
yeah,
That's why we get as much of it. That's why we
he's
go
he's a
back
he's a character.
one too many times just because he really works in that role. It's great. I like that part. It's completely the antithesis of what Roadhouse was, where like he enters the ring and then they exit out of it by intimidation.
Yeah.
Here it's the other way around. He basically just gets beat up. That's like something that also doesn't get explored as much because it's obviously a theme of like the poorer, like in the caste system, the poor are just like expected to bow down and be stepped on. And basically that also runs through his character who lost his mom and then is basically just giving himself up as like the butt of everything, literally like physically getting beaten down until he stands up for himself. And that moment is not really an arc in this film as much as it would have needed to be, at least in my opinion, where like that switch goes from him losing maybe not on purpose to I guess just losing at the start, then maybe losing on purpose and then training himself up to be the best fighter he can be. I think visually you brought it up like the first person thing. I think it also is definitely like you can see, oh, this is a first time director, isn't it? Even if you wouldn't know that Dev Patel directed this, it's not like that's not a critique. That's not like inherently something bad, but you can see he's trying out a lot of stuff, which is fine because you're trying it out that hey, I did it here. Maybe I'm doing it not again, or maybe I'm doing it again and it just fits a bit better. It's all about like learning. And I feel like with feature films, you don't really have that room to, with your tens of millions of dollars of budget and just being on set, that you can shoot for different versions. You're just trying it out because you want to have something unique. If it then 100% lands or not, you can't say that on the first time you're directing something. So I feel like I just appreciate the swings that are being taken, even if they don't make for like the best possible option at every turn of the way, just because it's entertaining just to see something different and be like it be slightly done differently, even if it makes for it maybe a marginally like lesser film, because it feels like it's throwing a lot of ideas at you. That's why, like you said, there's no inherent theme that you felt like 2/3 into the film, right? That also comes a bit with the visual style, but I feel like there's still praise to be given of how he lights the stuff and how it's shot. I think it stands out in a way, but it stands more out than it is coherent as like a movie overall. Anything else you wanted to bring up before we share our ratings on Monkey Man?
No,
you already
not
said
really.
it.
I think I got most of it.
Yeah, I think you already said it, right? You went from a 4 to a. Did you say that you moved down to a 3.5?
To a 3.5.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like really close to giving it a 3, and then I was like, I appreciate this film. I don't think it's in between for me, so it's closer to like a 3 than it is a 4. But I gave it a 3.5 because Dev Patel, we do love you, and we do want you to make more films. This was definitely like a very respectable first feature film, and I'm keen to see what he does next. If it is acting, directing, preferably maybe less of the writing part, but the directing stuff was really impressive. All right, Lachlan, what are we picking as double features for Monkey Man and Godzilla Kong? So I'm going with a triple tie over, and I double tie over because it doesn't really tie into Monkey Man. I'm going with Ex Machina because you do have the silent X in Godzilla Kong. But then in about 2 weeks' time or 1 week's time, by this time this episode comes out, I think Civil War is about to release. So in preparation for that, you can watch one of Alex Garland's earlier films, his first feature film, Ex Machina. And I wrote that with an X, not with an EX, because it's Ex Machina. That's the reference to the other film that we talked about. Did that give you enough time to think of something, Lachlan?
Nope. In Monkey Man, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of clashing of people. And in Godzilla and Kong, very similar. There's fighting, there's clashing, but there's a difference. In Monkey Man, they're human.
Mm-hmm.
In Godzilla and Kong, they're titans, which is why my double feature is Clash of the Titans. The
Okay.
2010 piece of shit film starring Sam Worthington, Clash of
Yeah.
the Titans.
Okay, cool. I've never seen this one, but hey, maybe
I
on the
actually don't
rack
think
for
it's a
cinema.
piece of shit. I do remember loving it when I
Is it
was
fun?
younger. So,
Yeah.
well, it's got a
Who's the
39 on
director?
Metacritic. I think you're gonna hate it.
Ugh.
Louis Leterrier,
I can Le Terrier. Oui, the
same
director of
director
Fast.
as
Yeah.
Fast 10.
Yeah.
So one of the
I'm
greatest
sorry,
living
that's
directors
Fast
of all
X to
time.
you. Oh my god, what a
Sorry.
perfect tie over. You could have gone with Fast X, a different another movie with an X in it.
Yeah, this guy is basically the same. He has won one primetime Emmy, and
Hmm.
the closest like living great director, Christopher Nolan, who's also won an Oscar. So it's like they're basically on
They're
par
basically the
for
same. Yeah.
like
It's
basically the
like a real
same.
Clash of Titans, which is what that movie is about Nolan and Le Terrier. Yes, but if you want to watch something else than Oppenheimer or Clash of Titans, then
Oh, sorry, Nolan's won two Oscars. They're not the same. Sorry,
two
guys.
Oscar. Yeah, I guess he's on another level. For Civil War, you do want to go see it. Maybe not even in IMAX, but that just also means you get better sound. But just go with like a good Dolby sound theater if you can, because this movie is bombastic. Experience it that way. I can recommend it. We're gonna talk about it in 2 weeks' time. And then there's another film called "Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead." I don't think this is releasing outside of the States, but hey, it's getting a wide release in the States. So yeah, I don't know about this one. Then out on digital, on VOD, on premium VOD. So that means you can't rent it for like $5. You gotta pay like $20 for it. Is the Oscar nominated Io Capitano, the captain. Then The Greatest Hits is coming out on Hulu. Strange Way of Life is finally hitting Netflix after it was purchasable. It is now available to stream. Then a little gem that I shouted out last week, Hundreds of Beavers, is releasing, I think, like a week after this episode comes out. Just go look for it. I think it's worth your time. It's really, really funny. Then Good Times, not Good Time, the Benny and the Safdie brothers movie. What's his name? Batman, with the Batman guy. I can't think of his name right now. But Good Times is a Netflix animated show releasing. And then we also have Michael Douglas as Benjamin Franklin in Franklin. That's another Apple TV Plus show that's coming out. So I feel like they're ramping up for the Emmy deadline, which is approaching in June. So every other week you're getting like a new Apple TV Plus series. There's a lot of stuff coming out. Then in limited release we got Sasquatch Sunset. Hopefully we'll get that one sooner than later internationally as well. Then speaking of international, in Swiss theaters we are getting Back to Black. You're also getting it in Australia, and for some reason it isn't releasing until May 17th in the States. I don't know why we are getting the Amy Winehouse doc so much earlier than the Americans are, but we'll take it. Actually, take it back. We do want Lucky Mera in theaters, which Lachlan, you just told me the struggles of finding a screening, because apparently they replaced the Lucky Mera screenings with
I
the
can't
ones
find
for
any
Back to Black, which is a bit infuriating. Like remembering how much you like that movie, and we certainly can do without another biopic film, but it's out, I guess. Then The First Omen. I haven't seen this one myself. I think the fifth entry in this horror franchise, and it's been getting pretty good reviews for some people and others who didn't like it, but I do have to make time for that one. And then in Swiss theaters, we do have Evil Does Not Exist, a film that played in Venice from Rizuki Hamaguchi, the director of Drive My Car. I can really shout this one out if you like slow theater, slow cinema. This one is a great one. And then out in Australia, we got Late Night with the Devil. So maybe you can make time for that one instead of Lucky Mera, maybe a consolidation prize. And then Robot Dreams, another really pleasant film about a dog and a robot's friendship. It's a pretty heartfelt little story. That's it for this week. Next week, Lachlan, like we said, is off on holidays, but we probably will be able to sneak in an episode for Love Lies Bleeding, and then the week after we are going going to cover Civil War. So go see these films on your own time, and yeah, share your own opinions on Monkey Man and Godzilla in the comments below. Don't forget to rate us on podcast apps and leave a like and subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. Lachlan, anything else you want to say to part words with our monkey-filled audience this week?
We've literally been recording for over 2 hours. I am so sorry to Ewan who has to edit this.
It's a long edit, so we'll get the monkeys out of the basement who can edit this one for me this week. All right, we'll see you then.
Bye.